our mortgage expert also waiting for us. So we will touch base with him, get a hi from him, and then we'll take it over from there. So let's head over and to our mortgage expert, Faisal Garcia, sir.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Very fine. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you and our audience.
Wonderful.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. And we have some important things to cover today. And before I start, so I had emailed all our prospects that the RRSP deadline for 1st of March is right across the corner. So if you need to shed some light on that, that will be great.
You know what? I have few good tips to share, so I'm sure all I can say to our audience is stay tuned.
Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, whenever in between, if you can highlight anything that you want to do with RRSP, we'll take it from there. Okay. So let's get over to the agenda of our day. And let me see if I am on the right screen there. Yes. So again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host tonight. My name is Manoj Atri. I'm a real estate agent with Remax Hallmark. We have our mortgage expert with us today. And today, as we usually do, I start with my real estate monologue. And in my real estate monologue today, I am covering a very perennial question that everyone's keep on contemplating on, whether to buy or to rent. So we are going to enter into that debate, whether it is good to rent or whether it is good to buy. And we will review an article there about rent to own versus rent versus buy debate. And then next we will be going into our format for rent to own homes. And numerous times I have said rent to own homes is a worst case scenario. Now today we are going to dwell on this one. Why is it a worst case scenario? So I am going to explain you some of the pointers and see if you can overcome all of those particular ones. Because if you are in a format where this is the best option, even if this is your best option, you need to know all the worst case scenario formats that can come into the picture. So that is why I am highlighting you this. Why is it a worst case scenario? And we are going to go into some of 5-6 detailed points why I always keep on saying why is it a worst case scenario, and we are going to dwell on that completely. And we have our live interview with mortgage expert Faisal Garcia there, and off and on we will be visiting him and seeking his expertise on a regular basis. So with that, let's head over to our real estate monologue today, rent versus buy. So give me a moment here and I can get you on the right screen there. Okay, this is an article by Financial Post, and the authors are Haider-Moranis, Bulletin, and these are these are the authors, Murtaza Haider and Stephen Moranis. So this article is by them, and we are going to today review their article today, and the article is Rent or Buy Debate. Now they begin with no right answer to rent or buy debate. At this moment, I am a strong advocate for buying and buying prudently. So I may have some bias there, but let's review how they have gone through about it. And so let's review that. No right answer to rent or buy debate, but there's no question who ends up ahead. The answer depends on individual circumstances, taste preferences, and housing market conditions. But home ownership does enable forced saving. Okay, so now when we are on the headlines here, let's get our expert to weigh in on this, and let's take his reaction on this particular topic and ask him his personal format. Faisal, rent versus buy. Whom do you support?
The article actually touches very important topic. It does not say one or the other, but it does say that look at certain items. Sorry, I should say certain variables, and those variables should dictate or give you a hint as to rent or to buy. Now, I always support the buy for one big reason, which is what this article touches: forced saving.
Absolutely.
So, when I used to work for TD, they had a program where every biweekly, let's say the pay comes in, the program would take out a certain percentage of that pay and force it into a savings plan. Okay. Now, in this country, I've not seen someone who's proudly said that I can save this much every paycheck.
Yeah, it is quite a challenge, yes.
Okay, because our incomes are all different. Everyone's income is different, but our expenses also catch up to that income. In fact, they go above our income.
Yep.
So this is a forced saving, and not just saving, it's also growth, because properties grow in value.
Yes.
Okay, so
And with this particular article, I'm also going to go through our example. So now we are both of the same format, that it is better to buy. But whenever I'm saying the term buy, and that is what I want the audience to understand, buy prudently, not the investor like a crazy going with the 2016, 2017, 2018 kind of a format, where now it has fallen like a third. And that is where things are. So it has to be bought, but bought prudently. And you should run all the numbers carefully. And that is what is my give and take on it. But I'm going to support that with an example, and let's see if we can get on to that one. Okay, let's head over to the article again. Okay, so now we are on to the article, and to buy or not to buy, that is the question. Lots of things are going there, and some people think it is nice, you're in a comfortable one, let's keep on, let's not change the equation, you're very comfortable renting, let's stay there. But that is where you will have to make an effort and get out of your comfort zone if you are in that format. A recent report by the National Bank of Canada suggests it might be cheaper to rent than to own in some expensive real estate markets in Canada. So they are going to give you a synopsis about the whole Canada, and they are saying it might be cheaper to rent in some areas, some expensive real estate markets. Many thus wonder whether they might be better off renting if the monthly rental payments are lower than the monthly mortgage payments. Now, this is where you have to, I don't know whether we can exactly walk you through there or not. But even if you're paying higher mortgage, let's say, suppose for argument's sake, you're paying $2,000 on a per month rent, that $24,000, $25,000 has absolutely gone down the drain. Now, if you have a mortgage, and even if you're paying $3,000, which we have already said is like a forced saving, because the value of the properties are appreciating, and if it has appreciated more than $25,000, $30,000, you are on a better path than renting. Okay. Anyway, let's see what the article has to say further. In the long run, though, homeowners often fare financially better than renters Because home ownership enables forced saving, and this is what we have in our numerous times walked you through, that it's a kind of forced saving. But obvious, if you are able to afford those particular amounts, that has to be checked up, because buying in the GTA is in itself a challenge. That accumulate over the years, growing into a sizable nest egg. I will head back to the expert there and seek his expertise again on this particular one. Faisal,
Yes,
sir, you have been a very good example of having been in the process of buying a numerous number of years. And I think so you would be a strong advocate for purchasing is at any given time better than renting.
You know what? I don't fully agree with what the article has to say, because it makes it very neutral. But okay, so let's just say, in reality, I've never seen someone who's been renting and has ended up ahead from the person who's owning in the exact same scenario.
Very true. Very true.
Okay.
I mean, until and unless you have goofed up something,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anything going wrong there.
No. And there was an exercise I even did. This was in university, where there was a couple that was renting, and with all the numbers and all in detail, the buying was a better option. And I think it becomes worthwhile to rent if the rent is dramatically lower. And that dramatically lower rent doesn't exist anymore.
No.
So then what's the next option? Next best option. So I think it's just it's an imaginary, I would say, idea that renting or buying may be the same, but in reality, I see owning is the way to go.
I have a query from Mr. L. Parcha, how it is. So if you can elaborate on that query, I'll be more than happy to take your question there and answer you there. But I mean, the rent to own, why is it a worst case scenario? We will be picking it up within a few more minutes. And if you have any mortgage query, feel free to ask, or if you have a real estate query, just write it down there. I will again try to explain it to you. But the rent to own, why is it a worst case scenario? I will be picking it up after I complete my real estate monologue. So we are going to be there shortly. Okay, let's head back to the article again. The National Bank report revealed that the monthly mortgage payment on a median priced condominium was higher than the average month rent for a similar unit in Toronto. But obvious, we have numerous times told you that yes, the mortgage payment may be slightly higher, but in the end, if the property appreciates, then you are in a much better situation than the monthly rent that you have. Okay, so now let's head further down. The bank report compared the total mortgage payment with rent, but in so doing, the report unintentionally exaggerated ownership cost and understated rents. Yes, so the mortgage expert also picked up on this one. It's not the exact science that was, or the numbers crunching was picked up, and that may be the reason. But I will take you through an example and try to explain you in simpler terms. See if I can walk you through there. The monthly mortgage payment comprises of two parts, the mortgage interest and the principal amount. Now, yes, some portion of it goes as your principal, but mostly it is the mortgage interest. Now, let me head over to the expert and seek how much is the general, Faisal sir, when we are doing a mortgage, do you have a rough idea how much is the interest and how much is the principal generally?
So when it is let's say a 5-year term
And a half a $1
25-year
million property.
I would say about 70% is interest. It starts with
That's okay. Yeah. So 70% would be
70-80%, somewhere in that neighborhood.
70 to 80, you said?
Yeah, 70 to 80.
Okay. Okay.
But then it's like a funnel that sort of goes from a higher interest payment to slowly the interest goes down.
But that is numerous number of years. Is that right?
No. So first 5 years you see those numbers, and after 5 years you really see the principal going down really fast.
Oh, okay. Makes sense then. Okay. Okay. So that is where we are. Okay. Let's head over to further into the article. The principal being repaid each month is a form of saving. Yes. It is a form of saving, and that is where we have said not in the first 5 years you're saving around 20% to 30% kind of a range, and then after 5 years it drastically goes into it. But in the end, it is the saving plus the appreciation of the property, and that is what has to be understood. A comparison of the net mortgage payment that excludes the principal is likely to change the calculus in ownership favor. So at this moment, they are just working on the interest and the principal, whereas an appreciation also is a factor into that one, and that has to be also brought into the picture. And they have done some rent to own, okay, in Toronto. So if your mortgage payment may be close to around $2,600, and whereas your rental may be close to around $2,400, so not much of a difference there. But this entire, from my point of view, is going down the drain. So I am a strong proponent if it can be bought prudently again. Before the principal repayment is subtracted from the monthly mortgage payment, the author found that on average, the cost of owning exceeds the cost of renting an equivalent dwelling of around $540 per month. No doubt, we have numerous times explained it to you. Yes, the mortgage amounts may be slightly higher than the amount that you're paying for the rental, but it works out differently in the long range. After the principal is subtracted, however, the net ownership is around $449, less than that of renting. Okay. In markets with growing demographics and economics, housing prices often rise over time, resulting in even greater capital appreciation. Yes, that is also what we are harping on. There is an appreciation and housing prices of and that is where there is this no loss of money, and or even if yes, a very small amount, but in the long run you will win. The long-term financial benefits of ownership are also well established. So that is what we are trying to harp on. And similarly, the author also has given in the end, this is where it wins. Rental units are often not of the same quality as owned units. A true comparison would require comparing the rents and ownership cost for the same units. Yes, that would be an absolute true comparison there. When the principal repayment is netted out, the cost of ownership is less than renting in most combination of housing types and location. So that is according to an housing economist, Will Dunning. So that is where, in the end, that is what we are heading on to. And now, let's head over to the expert, and then I will take an example about this. Faisal sir, reaction
Yes,
to
sir.
the full article there.
You know what? Actually, could you open that article again? I will go through a couple of points I see, and I want to touch them.
Absolutely.
If you just scroll up a little bit, okay. So here, um, Toronto market.
Yes.
This is something to keep in mind for our audience as to what we are working with. Don't look at the entire chart and average it, because that's what some of the comparison charts will do. So we need to make sure that we're using our own area when we're doing analysis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. The
That's number.
downtown core may be different than the suburbs and vice and
See,
any other areas.
right here, I'm seeing Toronto and Hamilton two different ways,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So in Toronto, you see how rent is so close to ownership,
Absolutely.
versus Hamilton, the rent is a little bit further than ownership.
Almost $500 there, $600 there.
Okay, so those aspects change. Now, if you look at some of the other ones, like for instance, Winnipeg, it's better to own than rent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, if you go through this whole Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Quebec City, I mean, everything is showing differently.
Yes.
It's a turnaround.
It's a turnaround.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to take too much time because we are short on time and we want to let our audience leave in an hour. If we can just scroll down a little bit.
Go ahead.
Okay, right there. Now here it says the cost of owning exceeds the cost of renting an equivalent dwelling of $541 per month. Now the key word here is an equivalent dwelling. Now in the same article, if you go down further, and I don't want you to because I have another point I'm touching, it says that the true comparison is between the same unit rented and bought.
Yes.
Okay, that's the true comparison. Now, I have always seen the owners that live in the property and want to rent that property to someone, and owners move to the next property, has always gotten better rent.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
yes, that is a different chapter. We'll have to pick it up on a certain date. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the reason I say this is from my personal experience, where if landlord has lived in that property, they've done all tasteful renovations, number one. They've made the property comfortable. They've done all small things that add to the comfort. What I mean by that is small things. For instance, adding a range hood. Not a big item, but most landlords that rent for just renting purposes will not see that as a value to them. But an homeowner that lives in that property and has never actually thought of giving it to rental, but there are certain circumstances where they have to move for multiple reasons, they'll add range hood. I have two of our past clients that wanted to add range hood in the first month of owning the property, and we had to give one of the referrals. So these small things make the difference. Also, sorry, if you can go back to that article, I have something else to point.
Sure.
Now, in the markets with growing demographics and economies, housing prices often rise. And I want the clients to understand that housing prices often rise. There are years there is a slight drop. And I strongly say slight drop, because if there is a drop, just remember, this is like your investment. You're not going to sell it.
Yes, it has to be bought prudently and with making sure it's a regular appreciation, not a now crazy appreciation there.
Exactly. So buying prudently is one big, huge factor. But then it is an investment. If your house is worth $50,000 less than last year, I don't think it matters.
Wonderful.
because
Awesome, sir. Awesome.
right.
Okay. Go ahead.
So that's another thing. And the last point I want to touch is the long-term financial benefits. It's a compounding growth. So every year, house prices don't just go up in dollar amount, but they go up in percentage. So a percentage of 400,000 growth of 5% and a 5% growth of 450 is two different growths. So every year you have a compounding growth.
Well said. Very well said. Okay. So, any other point, or I head over to the?
No, I can keep going, and I think we need to brief it.
Yes, we need to. Like, I have an example to cover there now. So let me head over to that example there now, and that would be renting versus buying. Okay. Now, see, we have to sometimes run some numbers. Otherwise, if we don't run the numbers, then we have no clue where exactly are we and where exactly are we going. Okay, so now let me head over to this particular one, and I am now going to explain you this particular one, and it's a chart. We are going to go slightly very fast because we just need to give you some ideas about the numbers here. Now, most of the time, we have seen that the rents these days are between $2,000 and $2,300 per month. So we're taking some assumption there. And then we are going to go on a buy price of $500,000 with utilities and taxes. So let's go through some of these numbers here. If you're trying to rent a property and your per month amount is around $2,000, and let's say all utilities and everything are included, so your per year is spending around close to $24,000 per year. Now, let's have, if you would have had gone and purchased this property, now, but obvious, we are assuming that you are able to purchase. In case if you're not able to purchase, but obvious, yes, and the down payment issues are there, credit issues are there, and everything. We are just trying to keep, yes, you are able to purchase. So keeping those two equations in place, like whether renting was good for you or buying was good for you, that is when we are explaining it to you. So let's suppose you go and purchase a property for $500,000. The reason we are taking $500,000 is because that is the price range these particular days. Your mortgage is around close to $2,400, utilities plus insurance and taxes, you come across to up to $3,000. Here we have another suggestion to you. If by chance you pick up a property where you can rent out a certain portion for, let's say, suppose even $1,000, and the reason we are saying this is because the rental market has become quite difficult. So it is in your interest, and it is easy that you should be able to rent out the property for $1,000. And if you see now, both these numbers remain the same. Renting remains the same, and so this money is going down the drain. So that's why I've put a negative mark on this. This for renting, all year $24,000 is being lost per year. Whereas if your house appreciates by 5%, then you have 525 value, and you have actually lived rent free, and you made a profit of $1,000 also. Let me see if I can get back to my article there, which I have messed up to go back. Yes, I am back at my article, and let's see. Yes, so now the profit is there, but obviously you will have buying issues. You will have to check your credit. Let me get out of the frame for a moment here. One second. So I can now explain you this particular one. And give me 1 second here. I am on this one, and I have my image out of the equation. So basically, if you can, you may not be comfortable renting, and there is a strong consideration that you have to do is buying as forced saving. And you can also ponder on to the equation of co-ownership if by chance you are having trouble of getting approved all the way up to $500,000. So that would be my intake for today, and let's see if we can take the expert reaction on this particular example that I've given. Go ahead, sir. Faisal, sir.
Sorry.
No problem, sir. Go ahead.
You have a very strong point on it. Renting versus buying. Numbers speak for itself. I have nothing to say, to be honest. It just numbers speak for itself.
Yes, I mean that particular point. If you can pick up a property with $500,000 and rent out a portion of it, you will be actually in the same format as renting.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I'm able to give you these numbers, because we have done this exercise together with so many of our clients over a period of time.
Yes.
And the main thing here is there is an appreciation value. And even in my webinars, even from day one, I am absolutely harping on this issue that real estate investment, people are making more money in real estate than their incomes.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if I pick up a few examples of some of my investors, including you, I'm not exactly going there, but the main thing here is, yes, that has a strong proponent to an income. Real estate has virtually become like an ATM these days. I was reading an article there on the other day that it's a virtual ATM now. If bought prudently and if you are able to work your numbers correctly. Wonderful.
The numbers are the game.
Numbers are the game. Well said, sir. Okay, so now we are heading back to our rent to buy, and that is our webinar hot topic today. And we are now going to catch up on this particular one, and let's see how much I can explain you this particular one. Rent to buy. Why is rent to own a worst case scenario? Now we are not letting you walk away from it, but before you walk into the rent to own situation or rent to buy situation, we're making sure that you understand some of the parameters, what you are dealing with. And that has to be understood very, very carefully. And that is the reason why I have numerous times, whenever I've said it's a worst case scenario, I'm going to explain you why it is a worst case scenario. So that is the reason for the headline of this particular topic. And let's see if I can walk you through further on this particular one. Now, I've for some of my new audience there, I will just take a brief moment on what exactly is a rent to own homes so that they comprehend, and then we are going to go to the next one. Rent to own simply in very, very simple terms means you are not buying today, but you are buying tomorrow. And now that has to be understood very carefully, that in this rent to own, there is a buying, there is an owning component to it. So that has to be understood. It is not that you are renting it out for 25 years. It is not that some investor, you generally your credit has an issue, and that is the only issue that we have dwelt in our various webinars, that is what you are fixing. And so the best option scenario is 1 year or 2 years, and in that period of time you would like to still go through this particular one, and that is why. But what exactly it is you're not buying today but tomorrow. Now this tomorrow can be anywhere from 1 to 5 years terms, because our investors generally prefer not to go beyond that particular one. And also for you as a buyer, it doesn't make sense. The numbers crunching doesn't make much more sense. So that is why it is better for you to stick to these particular number of years. Again, in rent to own, now let's say suppose you will have to buy the property after the end of the term. That has to be understood. It is so on day one, you have to go through the buying process, and let's say suppose you went through the whole 9 yards and your credit is an issue. So that component takes at least 1 year, 2 years to 3 years time. And so now you would like to do this rent to own and instead of renting it out. So that has to be understood. That is exactly where the rent to own scenario comes in between. Now, what is a rent to own homes program and why I call it a worst case scenario? Now, let me again explain you this one. This is what the reason I say it over, and our format is accordingly. So we explain you this first, and then I'm going to take the reaction of the expert, and then we are going to explain you further on it. So you went for a mortgage and you are not able to procure a mortgage. And the reason for not able to procure the mortgage is not your income, not your down payment issues, because the rent to own and the buying both require down payment. It is not your income. It is only the credit score that we are harping on, or we are explaining you that your credit is an issue, and on that basis you are not able to procure a mortgage. So you are now going to wait for some period of time, and that is when we are talking about you're not able to procure a mortgage. And now try to visualize, and that is why I'm saying it's a worst case scenario. No one is even, you're also not able to procure a place for rent. So basically you have ran out of all your options. That is when you go through this rent to own scenario. And that is why I am saying we are addressing the worst case scenario when we are trying to do a rent to own home program, and that has to be understood by you, and that is where what we are trying to explain it to you. Okay, so now let's take our expert reaction on this one and see if I was able to explain this part clearly.
You know, all I can say is you set the right expectations. On that slide, what I saw is you're right. As if you have income issues, rent to own is not really going to solve your income issues. If you have down payment issues, you may not be able to even get started. But if you have credit issues, those can go away in time. Sometimes it takes a couple of months, few months, 6 months, things along those lines. So it really has to, like, the score has to be low, quite low, and so on and so forth. But we've seen multiple clients that come to us for rent to own, and then we start to discuss and show them, and then all of a sudden they don't seem to like it because rent to own is really a worst case scenario.
That is why, and today you'll be able to see further that I have been able to pick out the very, very difficult ones, and why I've always used to say it, but I said let me go ahead and explain further today.
It looks like it was a challenging one, and you made it work because I see a smile on your face.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead with the article there. So let me take you to the next slide there. Okay. Now let's head over, and I think so. I have said numerous times that rent to own homes is a costly program. Now, whenever I have said this, let me take an example and walk you through why do I call it a costly program. Okay, and I'll try to slightly remain fast because otherwise I'll be losing on time. Okay, so let's take purchase price is around $400,000, utilities around $300 per month, insurance is $100 per month, taxes are around $300 per month. Okay, let's see regular home purchase. And on a regular home purchase, let's see here, we are taking an assumption that the property value is $400,000. If you calculate the mortgage amount close to be around $2,000, the utilities, insurance and taxes, and it compounds to almost $2,700 per month. And let's assume that the appreciation per year on the basis of a 5%, very moderate one, and so your value in 5 years time should be $500,000. I'm taking round numbers, it may be even more if the appreciation is 5% with compound interest and things like that. Okay, your mortgage balance in 5 years may be around 340. We have just done some rough calculations on these numbers, so don't take me on task on this one. And now let's see, if you did the same thing as a rent to own home purchase, property value again remains the same. And now I think so I have, okay, per month's amounts are like $2,000 for your mortgage, utilities around $300, and content insurance may be close to $50. So I've taken it round to $2,350. Now here is a component that comes into the picture, which is down payment. And let's say suppose your down payment is $500 per month. Okay, so your total comes to around $2,850 per month. This is the first difference that we will see. You're already paying close to $150 per month higher, though some portion is going into the down payment, but initially if you see exactly, you are paying some amount of money which is higher. Now the option value of after 5 years. So on day one, you had now signed up on the option value that after 5 years, I have to purchase this particular property for $500,000. Now your down payment adjustment will be close to $30,000 because you have been paying $500 per month. So in 5 years, 60 months, and you have paid down $300,000. The lease option buyback price will be close to $470,000. Now, I will take the opportunity here and get myself out of the frame for a second. Okay, let me see if I can get myself out of the frame or not. Yes, I am out of the frame for a moment. Okay, now let's explain you the balance of the article. The difference between the above two formats. Okay, so let's see. Per month amount $150 that you were paying extra, and the difference, had you purchased the property, your mortgage amount would have been $340 left, and now you have to buy this property at $470. We have already adjusted all your down payment and everything, and the difference is close to $130,000. And $9,000, and on the basis of $150 difference in per month amounts, that's around, so the total difference is around $139,000. So and the property only appreciated from $400,000 to $500,000. So you actually overpaid by close to $40,000. So you are basically paying 10% more after, apart from the fact that you have lost all the appreciation and you have overpaid. So that is the reason I call it as a costly program. And let's head over to the expert there and see if we can get him into explaining this particular one. I think so. He is. Let me see if I can get him there, and let me see if I can head over to this particular one. And okay, so that is Faisal's, and let me head over to get myself in here. Okay, so we are here, and let's head over to the expert there. Faisal sir, did the example give you some numbers insight?
You know what? The example speaks numbers, and numbers are something that are cannot be like number speaks for itself. So if you can actually bring the slide up, I'll point on couple of things that I have.
Go ahead, sir.
So a regular home purchase, rent to own, and the difference. So if everything is in line, of course, home purchase is the better option. But renting to own, if owning is not an option, if renting is not an option, but you have a down payment and you have income, your credit lacks, that's when you can fit in there. And difference of both of those is right in front of you. I think picture cannot become any more clearer.
The reason I have no problem, the reason I explain this particular format here is, so whenever you're trying to do a rent to own home program, you should be able to go through all these hurdles.
Absolutely.
I prefer someone tells me whenever I'm trying to purchase something, someone gives me a heads up on what is the worst case scenario on this one before I jump into it, and jump with an open mind, jump with knowing each and everything. Sometimes we have overpaid for a property. The reason we are in a multiple offer situation, we are in any other kind of a situation, and we are overpaying. But the reason is we know we are overpaying, and we know by how much we are overpaying, and we have done the numbers crunching, whether it is going to appreciate further, and we are making a prudent decision. Instead, we have gone into it, and then after doing it, buyer's remorse, and then we are figuring it out. Why did I do it? Why didn't someone explain it to me at that stage? And I may not have done this.
And you'll see I have a smile on me because I'm looking at the time, and I want to ask you, how much time do I have? Because I have a story to share. I'm not going to take the address, but there is a property that we were in multiple offer situation, and I want to share, but I want to know the time.
It's 1 minute for you.
Okay. So I remember us buying Oshawa property, the first one. And this property that we were buying, there were 6 offers, and there were multiple properties that had sold in that neighborhood. And the property we were going in with had been listed for few times. But this time market was stronger, and we had to go into a multiple offer situation. And I do remember you pulling 10 listings, and you said, Faisal, this one went for this much because it had garage. This one went for this much because it only had a carport. This one went for this much for this much. So looking at all this, I think we should go the highest number this. But we start here. So why I'm bringing this example up is buyer's remorse, the exact word that we didn't, even though it was a multiple offer situation, doesn't mean you have to pay more.
Yes, you have to have a very prudent format behind it.
Yeah, it's your formula of worst case scenario.
Yes.
what is the worst case scenario? How much can we go? Anyways, I do see you looking at the time, so I'm going to stop here.
No, I appreciate that. Okay, so let's head over to the next slide and let me see if I can get this right. Okay, now I am going to give you some other rent to own home blues. This was, I've already explained to you that it is a costly program. So you have to comprehend and understand that it is a costly program. Now, the next one that I always come and say here is, you will shell out more for repairs. So be geared up that a house, whether it is 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, will require some maintenance. And you have to shell out that money for repairs. And this is your component. You are paying extra high rent, which I've already explained you in the last slide. And you also have to be prepared for repairs. Now these repairs, but obvious, here is my guidance. Do a very good home inspection before you purchase the property and go through each and every detail of it. But be prepared that you have to shell out more for repairs. So pick up a property where you are comfortable instead of jumping right into it, but be prepared for it. And that is why it formulates one of my other factors in the worst case scenario. My next factor is, remember this, if by chance you are late in your payments, you can call your bank. The lenders will be much more conducive to hear you out. 1 month is okay, 2 months is okay. They might work out something here. Your seller may become greedy here. Your agreement may be void if you are late in payment. There is no recourse here. His agreements of the investors will generally be in a format that they will tell you, no, the market may have appreciated. They may be wishing, like working out that you may not even pick up the property. So your agreement, you cannot be late in this particular one. And you all can understand and comprehend, life doesn't go the way it is. Each and every one, maybe how smooth you think everything is, there are issues, and that could become a worst case scenario again. So you have to be very, very prudent in this particular format that you can understand this particular one. Next, let me ahead with 2 more of the scenarios there. You complete the full term of the lease, but you fail to secure a mortgage. And this is the reality on the ground. And that is why I harp on this quite a lot. Before you even start the process, get the whole buying equation in place. You should have had gone through each and every document with your mortgage broker, with your mortgage lender, that you did try for purchasing in every way. And when they tell you, so when you are not able to procure a mortgage, they were exactly able to identify you, these are the steps or these are the things that you are missing. And now you have to make sure in the number of years that you are trying to do the rent to own, you can get those things addressed. So that is why make sure it is in your interest. You will lose your down payment and you will lose all the money that you have done extra in the rental also. So deposit is lost, extra down payments that you have done is lost, and you have nothing in place and you're back to square one. So make sure you understand this before you jump into this. Next, this is also a very, very, the real estate bubble may burst. can burst. You bought a property for $400,000 or $500,000, and now you're supposed to purchase that property for $500,000 in 5 years' time, and the property didn't appreciate at all, and now you are not able to even procure a mortgage on the basis of, because you have to purchase the property on $500,000 only, and the property is just sitting at 400 or 420, and now you have to come up with the further difference of getting that particular $500,000 property. So you have to understand this particular format. So that is why a more prudence is required than a regular one, and that is where I keep on making sure you understand each and every blue that is there in rent to own home equation. Now I have one more last one before we take over to the expert and close it deal. Now this has to be understood. You have done everything right on your part, and this could be a part which has nothing to do with you, but yes, you can be stuck into this particular one. The seller can lose the home to power of sale and foreclosure. You are giving him absolutely everything on time, but he is like out of the blue, he has stopped paying to the bank. And what do you do now? You will get into a legal complexity, but yes, you have to make sure that those particular things are also taken into consideration when you are trying to do a rent to own. So these are, whenever I tell you it's a worst case scenario, it is not I'm just giving you this. There is something which is there at the back end of it, and let me see how my expert weighs it out on this particular one, and that concludes my worst case scenario and for today. And I hope I have been able to walk you through, and that is the reason why I call and why do we call our program as a smart rent to own home program, because we will go through all the options on the table before we make you jump into this, and that is where we take the longer route and not the shorter route. And let's see if my expert can weigh it out and see reacts to my input on the worst case scenario. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, I don't think there's much to be said on it, because to be honest, you've covered everything there has to be, everything in detail, as much as possible. All the pitfalls are out on the table, just so the client doesn't feel like they have been taken advantage of.
Absolutely. And I think so. Go ahead if you need to add something, and then I will conclude this, because we are almost at 2 minutes mark.
I see 7:59 and I don't want to add any more.
Okay. Let me give give me 1 second here. Let me take over to your websites, and let me take our audience to, so our expert's website here, which is faisalgarcia.com. So that is his full name, faisalgarcia.com, and you can reach there and get everything, seek more expertise from him on mortgage. His other website, which is an awesome website coming on a daily basis, is his Credit Repair Now, and you can head there and get creditrepairnow.ca, and that would also give you all the information regarding him. And my websites, you have already been, you can go to my webpage, which is like manojatri.com, and then you can click on rent to own homes, zero down information, power of sale information, and also if you can subscribe whenever you want, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also you can subscribe to my daily newsletter, which I send it, curate some 7 to 8 articles for you and email it to you on a daily basis. And with that, I conclude, as we are on the exact 8 o'clock mark. And thank you very much. Faisal sir, and
Thank
to
you.
the audience, and we conclude tonight.
Thank you very much, audience. Please like, share, and comment on the videos.
Absolutely, sir. That'll be great if they can do that. Wonderful. Thank you, Faisal,
Good
for all
night,
your
everyone.
expertise. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Faisal. Bye. Good night forever.